Hello and welcome to HW News English. I am Shubham Chauhan and we are coming to you live with a very important news that happened this morning from the Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India struck down the electoral bond scheme and it has asked the State Bank of India to stop issuing these bonds henceforth. So they've said a lot of things, but we'll first get some basics out of the way. Electoral bonds are basically, for those of you who aren't aware, who are not sure what it is, these are basically financial instruments that one can use to donate money to political parties. This was introduced around 6 years back by the then Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. This was done to sort of ensure that there is transparency as far as funding for political parties is concerned. But since the time these bonds have been introduced, the biggest issue has been transparency itself, or the lack of it, perhaps, that those who donate money to political parties, their identities haven't been revealed yet. Now, the Supreme Court has said that the electoral bond scheme violates the right to freedom, the freedom of speech and expression, and also the right to information. I'm quoting, this was in fact a constitution bench that was comprising of Chief Justice CJI Chandrachud, Justices Sanjeev Khanna, B.R. Gawai, J.B. Pardiwala, and Manoj Mishra. They heard a batch of cases related to the validity of the electoral bonds. And I'll just quickly read out a few excerpts for you before we get into the discussion. First, Chief Justice Chandrachud said that information about funding of political parties is essential for the effective exercise of the choice of voting. Now, mind you, this ruling comes just months ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. And after, following the pronouncement of the order, the Supreme Court of India has also issued some directions. But they've also said they've asked the State Bank of India, which is the main issuer. So say, if you're an individual or a company who wants to donate to a political party, until now, you could go to a State Bank of India and you could get these bonds issued in multiples of 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, and so on. Now, the Supreme Court has said all the details so far of the donors who have donated to various political parties, the State Bank of India has to now give this information, this treasure trove of data, to the Election Commission of India, who has to now upload it on their website. Now, what this means is basically common citizens like you and I, if you want to know which political party was funded by whom in the last 5 to 7 years, we should ideally be having this list of data by March, which is next month. And among other directions that the Supreme Court of India has said that electoral bonds, which are within the validity period of 15 days, but which have not been encashed so far by the political parties, shall be returned by the political party to the original purchaser. Now, there's a lot to discuss. Now, this has, from a legal standpoint or from a political standpoint, there's a lot to discuss as far as electoral bonds and their validity is concerned. Now, to help us answer some of the questions and navigate through this subject, we have with us our managing editor, Sujit Nair. Sujit, how do you see your first comments on the Supreme Court's verdict, which many are calling a landmark verdict?
Happy that this verdict has come out. Happy that the Supreme Court felt that the government, the people of India, are entitled to know how political parties are making money. Because if you remember, the Attorney General of India had actually said that, firstly, there can be no general right to know everything and anything without being subjected to reasonable restriction. Secondly, the right to know as necessary for expression can be for specific ends or purpose and not otherwise. This is what the Attorney General said. Shubham, what it meant? What it meant is the Attorney General said that, "Arey bhai, paisa mil raha hai, sabko kyun? Why should everybody know everything?" This is what he said to the court, to the Supreme Court. Why should everybody know everything? Kuch end meet ho raha hai kya? Can a common Indian, what end does it meet to a common Indian if he comes to know that a particular person has given X amount of money to a particular political party? It is 1,000, 10,000, 10 lakh, 1 crore rupees. You could donate it, Shubham, and you could purchase those certificates and donate it to the political party by being, and you could do it absolutely without anybody getting to know your identity. Now, the fact remains that one doesn't know who is paying. One doesn't know who is paying, and most importantly, one doesn't know that why is this person paying? If a businessman is paying a particular political party, Shubham, do you think that the businessman pays because he just thought, ऐसे यार बहुत पैसे हैं, चलो political party को देते हैं? Do you think a businessman will pay? I mean, it's simple logic. The businessman pays a political party because finally he's going to make sure that that political party, if it forms the government, will help his business. He's going to ask his pound of flesh, wouldn't he? That's exactly what is going to happen. And here, what convenience. You pay as in absolute this confidence. No, your identity is not revealed. You are incognito. You pay the money, and you can the political party, and you know that you paid the money. And then later on, if the political party becomes the government of the day, you go to the government of the day and ask for your pound of flesh, and you cannot even relate it to the money that is being paid. Because a common man never knows. Media will never come to know that the X businessman has paid X amount of money to the political party, and therefore, if these decisions are happening, that is thanks to the money paid by the business to the political party. Therefore, it is in lieu of that. It's a quid pro quo. A common man will never come to know. The media will never come to know. So everything is good. This is what was the situation, and gracefully, I mean, I'm gratefully is what I meant, gracefully, gratefully, the Supreme Court has struck down. So good, thank God for it. At least some decisions from Supreme Court, some good decisions from Supreme Court.
In fact, I'll just pick up from where you also spoke about the pound of flesh that you spoke about for businessmen, and I'll just tell our audience the reason why I'm repeatedly looking at my paper, because there's a lot that the Chief Justice has said while we are waiting a detailed copy of the order. I'll just again pick a quote on what Sujit said. At a primary level, political contributions give a seat at the table to contributors. That is, it enhances access to legislators, meaning the lawmakers that sit in parliament. This access also translates to influence over policy making, which is what exactly Sujit was trying to say, that when somebody donates money, they're not just doing it for the sake of it. They're doing it keeping in mind that somewhere down the line, when one political party comes to power, they will at some point or the other get some favors. This access also translates into influence over policy making. There is also a legitimate possibility that financial contributions to a political party would lead to quid pro quo arrangement because of the close nexus between money and politics. Exactly what Sujit was trying to say. Now, before I come to the next question, I would like to present a stat here. Now, electoral bonds have been sold in 30 phases. This is from March 2018. So, this is roughly around the time the electoral bond scheme came into being. It was officially notified in 2017-18. From 2018 till 2024, January 2024, electoral bonds worth 16,518 crores were sold. And the biggest beneficiary, according to each political party's own declarations, has been the Bharatiya Janata Party with almost 6,600 crores. Now, look, heading into election time, when a lot of accusations have been made with a lot of data being cited that this scheme is only benefiting one political party, what does this mean for the political party then? What does it mean for the BJP heading into an election year then? What are the political implications of it?
I'll tell you. Let's keep politics aside for the time being. BJP and politics aside for the time being. I'm just talking about a simple logic. You see, the whole world and its mother knows that the chances of BJP winning 2024 is high. Correct? There is no debate about that. Most of the people assume that BJP will come back to power. Now, with that assumption, look at the money that has been given to BJP. The maximum money has gone to BJP. What does that mean? That means people are giving the money to a political party that they perceive will come back to power. Which means what? Which means that they are expecting that the money they give that political party should have some kind of a return gift at some point in time when they get it. Shubham, that's the point I'm trying to make. It's a fair assumption, isn't it? I am assuming this. I have nothing to say it is that way, but I'm assuming this. And isn't it a fair assumption? I will put in my money where I think I will get some kind of a return. That return could be in interest in monies, in returns in monies, or that returns could be in some favors. So I'm going to put in money, and that's what we are seeing. Bulk of the money is going to one particular political party. Why are other political parties not being paid that kind of money? Secondly, I'm sure when it comes to regional parties where the businessman sees that this particular party is going to come in as regional parties, maybe whatever money is going there because he is expecting that political party to come in as the government in the state. So I am talking from a larger perspective. The larger perspective is this scheme itself, this entire electoral scheme was faulted. It was a faulted scheme. It was faulted. It was faulted from the day go, like possibly the demonetization was. It was faulted. The scheme was wrong. And we went on. It went on for so many years. So much money. You said 16,500 crores, right, Shubham?
Yes.
16,500 crores is what you're talking. 16,500 crores exchange hands. And this is what it is. This is what it is. Now what? We have got 2 months more for election. So kitna, matlab, how much more would have been collected? And the whatever has been collected and not encashed for the last 15 days, those monies would have to be returned back. I doubt whether there will be some money like that. Number one. Number two is that I'm assuming now this State Bank will give this data to the election commission. The election commission will actually put it up in the website before the election. I'm hoping all this happens before the election. I'm hoping all this happens before the election. We'll wait and watch.
But like I said, this is BJP. It's now become like an open secret that the Bharatiya Janata Party was the largest beneficiary. But doesn't this the bringing in transparency for political funding really matter to us as citizens? We should ideally have the right to know as to who funds our political parties, isn't it? And not just the BJP, any and every political party, be it a regional party or a national party, don't the people have the right to sort of know where the funding is coming from? Because another aspect to this has been that one part of sort of funding political parties has been the electoral bonds. But now what a lot of commentators are also pointing out, that a large chunk of this happens through cash. Funding political parties happens through cash. So what happens to political funding of political parties now with the electoral bonds out? Does that mean there will be more transparency in the system, or how does one look at it now?
See, I'll tell you. I am re-quoting what the Attorney General of India said, because Shubham, I want to focus on this concept of transparency. You see, democracy is built based on transparency. Government runs based on transparency. A government runs based on transparency. Okay, fundings happens based on transparency. Now, when you make 100 rupees, aren't you supposed to tell the government how you made that 100 rupees? Isn't that fair? Can you ask the way Attorney General asked? Firstly, there can be no general right to know everything and anything and everything without being subjected to reasonable restrictions. Secondly, the right to know as necessary for expression can be for specific ends or purpose and not otherwise. I'm reading this statement twice. The reason I'm reading this statement twice is, can a citizen of India tell the government that, Baba, you need to know things on right to know basis? I will not divulge everything. Why do you want to know this? Today your government is entering your bedroom. Today you are saying that you can't have a live-in relationship because they are entering your bedroom. Today a lot of governments are entering your kitchen to see what you are eating. So that right to know is there. That is not a problem. That is good, Baba. But when it comes to the government says, why do you want to know? This is what is happening. Now the point is, it is like this. Who is funding? If a common citizen doesn't know who is funding, how do I know that the government will be unbiased? How do I know if some deals are given to some particular company, it is not quid pro quo? How do I know? And it is important because finally, the decisions taken by the government, it affects whom? If it affects my life. As a citizen of this country, every decision taken by the government, be it a state government or be it a central government, affects my life. But I don't know who is funding my state government or my central government. Ye kya baat hui hai? Or the party sitting in my state government or the party sitting in my central government in this case. Ye kya baat hui? And how are we even debating? My question is, Shubham, my question is, how could India pass such a law? How could this law get passed in the parliament? What is the respect you are giving democracy? What is the respect you are giving our understanding? You think we are infants? That we don't understand where the money comes and how the money goes? We don't need to? I mean, that's what the government thinks of us? You see, this is the problem. And you know what? It is not about right wing, left wing, center wing and all that. It is about the concept of democracy. And I think any and every person who who appreciates the concept of democracy, who appreciates our constitution, who appreciates the fight, the fact that we are living in a free nation. Our forefathers fought, our founding fathers fought for our freedom, died for our freedom, and we are living in that free nation. I think all those people should rejoice today, to whatever extent, because a lot of money has already gone. So that's one end. Rejoice today, at least to know that the court passed a verdict ke bhai aap dalo. Now again I'm telling you, I will be convinced the day I see that in the website of ECI. I will be convinced that day. Till then, hoga nahi hoga dekhna padega. So, sorry.
Final two questions before we wind up this discussion. The first is, now, what does it mean for the center? Now, again, the moment the judgment came in, there was a lot of speculation as to what the next step of the union government will be. Will they bring in an ordinance to ensure that they overturn this decision? In the realm of possibilities, what do you think? What options does the center have 2 months before an election year, with poll dates set to be announced in, say, a few weeks from now? What are the options left for the central government? Because March 16th, if I'm not wrong, is the date. March 13th is the date that the Election Commission has to ensure that this data, all of this data that the SBI hands them over, is up on the website. So what are the possible options that the center has? Before I get into the political bit, which will be my last question.
See, I'll tell you. Let us hope the EC does that. There was a deadline given to our speaker in Maharashtra to decide. Did he decide that date? So let us see whether ECI does it. Let us see whether it goes up in the website. I am hopeful. I am praying it should happen, but I don't know. I hope it happens. Let us see whether it happens. That's number one. Number two is, water finds its own way, Shubham. Money will find its own way to the political party. So I am saying, "Theek hai, yaar." I mean, one way is out, there will be another way for money to reach the political party. So that's one. This would have been easier way. The reason why one gets upset is because this was passed as a law. This was passed as a law, which means the political party of the day, the people who voted yay for it, decided that the common citizens of India couldn't care less for us. They wanted us to be in the dark. Those are the people who voted yay for this particular bill, to put it into an act. The point that I'm trying to make is, somewhere down the line, what that government does, what central government does, I don't know, but I hope this list comes up by the defined date of the Supreme Court. I hope. I will be doing another show the day it comes up. That is for sure.
Right. And the final question is about the opposition parties. Now, like you mentioned, since the time this bill was introduced, the question as to how could the government or the ruling party at that point bring in such a law. Now, the opposition parties are claiming this as a victory for them. Heading into election time, doesn't this then become a plausible vote plank, say, for the opposition parties, that they can turn around and say, look, we opposed this at the time. Now the Supreme Court has sort of indicated our stand that the electoral bond scheme that Arun Jaitley had introduced with so much fanfare, now the Supreme Court has sort of junked it altogether. So does that mean that they've got another point to use it or hold it against the BJP, regardless of what the prospects are? On the agenda front, do they have another, does the opposition have another item to add to their list now?
Shubham, I may sound very negative. I may sound very cynical, but let me ask you: was the opposition having dearth of points to pick it up and question the government? The opposition never questioned the government on Adani. The opposition never questioned the government on unemployment. The opposition never questioned the government on price rise. The opposition never questioned the government on the fact that we are almost all our neighborhood are kind of not very friendly with us anymore. Opposition, what did the opposition raise? That one Rahul Gandhi raised about Modi and Adani and all of that. That is happening at one end. The rest of the opposition decided not to raise it. That is happening at other end. So nobody raised about inflation. Nobody raised about problems that a common man was facing. Nobody raised problems about fuel price. They were busy raising problem what that ED is attacking them and IT is attacking them and all of that. They were busy bother about their own self. Did they raise problems of the people? Did they come into the streets like BJP did in 2013? You see, look at the gas price, look at the price of fuel, what was in 2013 and what is in 2024. Look at the difference. Did anybody come back? Did anybody come out? Look at the unemployment rate. Did anybody come out? Look at the labor participation rate. Did anybody come out? Look at the hunger index. Did anybody come out and say our people are hungry? Did anybody come out? So what opposition here? Opposition had enough and more reasons to come out and get out the government or question the government. They went by saying what affected them. That is their ED is troubling us. That is troubling us. This is troubling us. That is what they went to the people with. That is what they went to the government with. That too not effectively. So what is this going to make a difference? It will make no difference. It will make no difference in India's elections. It will make no difference in 2024 polling. It will make no difference. Let me assure you this.
Right. On that note, we thank everyone for tuning in for the live. Thank you, Sujit. And just to wind up one final time, the Supreme Court has struck down the electoral bond scheme, terming it as unconstitutional. Now, it remains to be seen with voting just a few months from now, how it sort of plays out in the dynamics. Remember, the Election Commission of India has to now make the data public as to who were the donors, which were the political parties, which benefited, how much money was given. That means a lot of data, a lot of finer details that weren't available in the public domain in the last few years will now be, or is rather expected to be public in a few weeks from now. That's all we have for this live. Thank you so much for tuning in.